Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Good morning. Did you watch the Super Bowl last night?
I watched bits and pieces. I watched the important stuff. The commercials, of course.
That is Mason, who's filling in for none other than Mac Morey.
Yeah. Are you surprised that he took today off? I'm not.
No. He planned it ahead at least.
Absolutely, yeah. It wasn't a last second like, oh, if the Chiefs lose or if they win, I'm out.
No, it was either going to be celebratory or recovery.
Tears, of course, yeah. And it was almost tears last night for sure for him. But they pulled it out in the end.
Yeah.
Who are you rooting for?
I was rooting for the 49ers.
Me too.
Just so I could play Mac a song.
Absolutely. Oh, what song was that?
I don't know. I'm not going to play it now. But I had a 49ers song ready to go. A lot of people were tweeting me during the game wondering if I had a song ready for Mac.
That would have been amazing.
I did. I feel like everybody jinxed it. And, so Super Bowl was awful. Do you feel like it was awful?
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy it. I paid attention to a couple of the commercials. The only one I really have enjoyed over the past week, because it's been playing all week, is the Paramount one. Just because it throws back to Hey Arnold and Patrick Stewart is a good one for me. But I actually watched, I think, most of it on Nickelodeon just to see SpongeBob perform the halftime show instead of Usher.
You watched it on Nickelodeon?
Yeah. I tuned in for a couple things just to see what they were doing. They were doing some fun little motion cap stuff with the voice actors. So it was all live. It was very interesting.
I didn't even know that they were doing that.
I didn't either until I saw a TikTok about it.
My kid, we don't watch Nickelodeon.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
No.
It's definitely not.
Ever since like Dan Schneider and all the weird foot stuff and kid stuff came out.
Yeah.
The rumors.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, we're out.
Yeah.
We're out on Nickelodeon.
Completely understandable.
Yeah. I hated the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was a rough one.
I just was I was disappointed the whole time. You know, they told us that the commercials and the ads were going to get away from the woke stuff, try to go for a more mainstream, old school appeal. I didn't find anything was really LOL funny.
Not really.
Nothing that was really jumped out and made me think like, oh, we're back. You know, and you had the same classic woke stuff with the Black National Anthem. I'm sorry. We have one national anthem. It's for everybody. We don't need a Black National Anthem. It's the American National Anthem. It covers everybody. And we didn't have an Asian national anthem. We didn't have a Jewish national anthem. We didn't have an Arab national anthem. We have one American national anthem. It covers everybody.
It's supposed to unite us all, not separate us.
Instantly thought we were off to the wrong foot. And I'd love to get your thoughts on the Super Bowl as well. 615-737-9986. To me, the ad that really kicked off my disdain for everything that was wrong with the Super Bowl was the He Gets Us ad. Did you see the He Gets Us ad?
No, I missed it.
People are calling it blasphemy. During one of the early commercial breaks of the Super Bowl, there was the He Gets Us ad, and it featured these scenes of people washing someone's feet in emulation of Jesus. But it missed the point. Again, the ad was for hegetsus.com, and they're doing this campaign to remind everyone, including ourselves, that Jesus' teaching are a warm embrace, not a cold shoulder. But the ad showed a bunch of different scenes, 12 scenes, probably 12 on purpose, of people washing others' feet. It was mostly white people doing the washing. And you saw a minority washing a white man's feet. There was some of that, but the whole ad felt to be saying that white Christians, you shouldn't be bigoted. And there was a priest washing the feet of what appeared to be a member of the LGBTQ community. Another one showed an older woman washing the feet of a scowling young woman outside of a family planning clinic as pro-life protesters stand in the background. It really bugged me. It felt off. It felt like a mockery. The story of Jesus washing the feet of his disciples in John 13, taken as a lesson of humility delivered by Jesus to his disciples ahead of the Last Supper. But if you watch the backlash on social media, nobody got that message from it. Many thought it was blasphemous and didn't actually represent the lesson that Jesus was attempting to impart on his followers at all. Many people, blasphemous. Don't fall for this satanic symbolism. Completely ignoring the fact that while one, yes, these people did betray him ultimately, the only feet he ever washed were those of his disciples, not absolute strangers like the ad was implying. Another person on Twitter, this blasphemous ad makes the assertion that we should accept sin. Christ specifically implored sinners to change, not live and boast in their sin. He wouldn't condemn sinners, but he would condemn sin. Hence telling the woman at the well, go and sin no more. But a lot of people thought that this was purposefully engineered to attack mostly white people, and that it was racist and pushing a left-wing narrative, calling it a horrible woke commercial. Did you see the ad? What do you think about it? 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. Call me. Because it bugged me. It bugged me to no end. And it felt like the majority of the Super Bowl was just as woke as they told us it wasn't going to be. You know, I mentioned on the Amigos segment with Dan, it's like they have the saying in the end zone, end racism. Oh, I thought we were going to keep racism going. It's like, do we need that reminder? Garbage. None of the ads were funny. The halftime show was abysmal. And maybe I'm too much in my dad mode. Maybe I'm in my dad era where I'm just like, what are you doing? There are kids watching. But I can't be the only one. I can't. It just really frustrated me to no end. I didn't let my kids watch the Super Bowl. They didn't even know the Super Bowl was on. I'm not going to let them watch that kind of stuff. But these woke ads, it's like, I don't know. I found it insulting as a Christian. You tell me what you think. Calvin in Lebanon, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, man?
Hey, Chris, I just wanted to say that I did watch the Super Bowl. I really wasn't for either team, but since, it was San Fran, the city of filth is what I call it. So,
Yep.
So I went for Mac Murray's Kansas City Chiefs, so I was glad to see them win. But after a good day at church, and I forget what it is they have in our church. It's their belief of Christianity. It's a saying. And one of the things is about washing feet. And so I don't understand a lot. You know, I'm early in this and stuff. And I appreciate you breaking that commercial down to me and your understanding of it. So in other words, I just wanted to say I know what I was watching now. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same company, He Gets Us, HeGetsUs.com. They were also had a whole ad campaign spreading the message that Jesus was a refugee. And they spread this leftist woke ideology under the veil of Christianity.
Right.
You know, and
I appreciate you breaking that down.
No,
I understand what I was watching now.
And listen, I am by no means a biblical scholar. And if somebody out there has more info than me, I encourage them to call. But as a Christian man who's trying to raise his family with Christian values, I see this commercial and it just feels like a Trojan horse to leftist ideology.
Right. And as far as Usher coming out, I will grant you, my wife had some things to say. Of course, she wasn't into the Super Bowl at all, but she said, I won't be able to sleep if you're in here hooting and hollering. So, she was like, oh, they need to get that off the air. They need to get that off there. And I grant you, the guy is extremely talented. And that's what I told my wife. I said, believe it or not, Melinda, I said, that's some major talent, what they got going on here. But I didn't agree, the pose and the pole dancers and some of the stuff they were saying. But, I'm like you. I don't want to take away from him. He's extremely talented. But there's a time and a place for everything. And as you being a father, I can see your frustration. So.
Well, it's supposed to be like the biggest game of the year. You want to sit around and have like something to do with your family and have those memories. And I had those memories with my dad growing up. And it frustrates me that I'm not going to get that with my kids. I feel like something's been taken from me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, you keep breaking it down, and I'm going to keep listening.
Hey, I appreciate you, Calvin. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
All right. I do. I feel like as a dad, in today's culture, something has been robbed of me. That I can't have these Super Bowl memories with my kids that I had with my dad for fear of what kind of woke garbage and trash they're going to put on these screens. I can't be the only one thinking this. Where have we gone as a culture and a society where this kind of garbage is okay? Where you have women on stripper poles at the Super Bowl halftime show. It just blows my mind. And it's all become wallpaper in our society. It's wallpaper. We don't even see it. And I'm watching it, and it's like I'm frustrated sitting there. It's all I can see. It's all I can see. And I feel like something's been taken from me. I feel like I've been robbed of all those good times that I had with my dad, not being able to have that with my boys, because I'm not going to sit there and watch this garbage with them. It's frustrating. And it feels like that across culture in general. It's not just a knock on the NFL, but just anything. You can't watch anything anymore. 3861 says, "You're not the only one. My first Super Bowl party memory was Tom Brady's first Super Bowl. We will never feel that again." No, we will never feel that again. Jerry in Fairview, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Jerry?
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. I'm glad you're doing this topic because, I mean, a lot of people are thinking the same thing you are. You're right to feel like you had something taken away from you. They've been taking everything from us. Sports is a big money thing in this country. It's like a religion. It's trying to supplant religion. That's why they put the games on Sundays, all that stuff. But, you know, the thing about it is, with the sex innuendos at the halftime show and all that other stuff, it's just par for the course. I mean, we got to be honest. We're Tennesseans. We're not Californians. So we got to face what's going on with the communism and how they're co-opting all our cultural and recreational things, from entertainment, music, sports, you name it, all the way down the list, news, everything. So it's just par for the course. But you're right on the money with what your assessment. I don't have kids, but I feel for all my friends' kids. They're growing up in a different world. All we can do is teach our kids right and wrong, show them what's acceptable, what's not, so they can't normalize deviant stuff. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to co-opt the commercials and the halftime show. We're not watching for that. We're watching for the game. All that stuff is advertising and marketing. It's a separate thing. You got to compartmentalize it. Some people left the NFL, walked away, turned their back on it. I still love the game. I just I don't want to partake in watching all that stuff you're talking about, because you're right. It's not really conservative values at all, and you need to get that message.
Well, and it's like there's parents out there that are going to be sitting there with their kids and can combat that messaging in real time with them.
That's right.
And walk through it and tell them why it's false. But there's another whole section of kids in this country whose parents are completely asleep at the wheel and have no idea what is being pumped into their kids subliminally during these kind of big national TV broadcasts.
Yeah, I know, and I agree, and that's what they're banking on, is getting to those people. But, you know, we can only control what we can control, and the culture's changing. It's getting real decadent, and most conservatives would say it's in decline, but you know, we can combat it, but we have to start at the smallest level, which is in the family, in your home, in your neighborhood, in your town, in your city, in your state. And you know, the West Coast and the East Coast, the left coast, and the other stuff, they can do what they want to do. But you know, as long as people give them money for those tickets, those exorbitant prices, and watch it and get cable and do all that, it's going to keep going on because they got the money coming in. So you can love the sport, just the other stuff, if you could do without it, fine. If not, you have to make your decision. But I agree with you 100%, Chris.
Hey, Jerry, thanks for the call, man. I really
buddy.
appreciate it.
God bless.
Hey, God bless you too, bud. It's 9:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I got more to say about this. There's a couple calls waiting in the line. I'll get to your calls next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hanford, my friends at membersnutrition.com. What is in your body? Seriously, did you know that toxins can build up in your body that will suppress your immunity and your ability to absorb nutrients and fight illness? Let's be honest. The air we breathe, the food we eat, it is absolute garbage and poison. And that excess waste that you're picking up from that garbage can cause you to age prematurely. So if you're feeling bloated, gross, sluggish, it's time to change your body's oil and experience this new cleanse. Purchase Daily Defense's Youthful Cleanse at membernutrition.com and take control of your health, take control of your life. I have done this Youthful Cleanse. I did it last weekend and over the weekend, and I got to tell you guys, I feel great. I really do. Now, Members Nutrition makes their Youthful Cleanse right here in the USA. It's not made in China with tiny little hands. It's made here in America. And their Daily Defense Youthful Cleanse is the ultimate cleanse for optimal digestive health. So if you're seeking reliable, effective solutions to support your digestive system, that gut health, which is so important, look no further. You got to check out Youthful Cleanse at membersnutrition.com.
Murfreesboro got a crash blocking the right shoulder of 24 east and westbound. This is just west of Joe B. Jackson Parkway. That is a crash there in Rutherford County. Statewide Blue Alert, give you an update on the search for an accused cop killer coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, Ronnie in the Borough, what do you think about the Super Bowl halftime show?
Well, I think it's just like all of them in the past years. It's garbage. I mean, they could have taken that amount of time and had a tribute to all genres of music that people have died in this past year, and it pleased everyone instead of just trying to please a certain section of society and leaving the rest of us, with a bitter taste in our mouth.
Yep.
It seems like that's the way it is every year, but apparently we don't complain enough. They keep doing it, so I don't know how we can expect anything less.
No, and to be fair with you, Ronnie, I didn't expect anything less, and that's why my kids went to bed before the game started. It's like, all right, guys, go do your arts and crafts in the other room, and we'll go to bed soon.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate the call. I'll take more of your calls next on the Super Bowl halftime show, talking about the current state of today's culture. Somebody sent a text. They said, hey, Chris, you better get ready. Isn't TN making a new football stadium for a Super Bowl? I don't know if we're going to have enough seats in that stadium for a Super Bowl.
Probably not. I don't even know if we have enough space across the river for it. They're talking big game. We'll see what happens.
I definitely would not welcome a Super Bowl in Nashville. I don't know if anybody knows this, but the Super Bowl is like the biggest hotspot for sex trafficking. Every single year, it is like the number one go-to for sex trafficking.
Not only that, but it leaves the cities almost destroyed the day after if they're not prepared for it. It was like Nashville is not built for that.
No.
Absolutely not.
I wouldn't welcome that in my city under any circumstances. Maybe I'm in the minority. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. Statewide Blue Alert, a $100,000 reward now being offered for information leading to the arrest of Kenneth DeHart for the murder of a Tennessee deputy last week. Deputy Greg McGowan's cruiser now covered in flowers, a standing memorial in his East Tennessee community.
I just came unglued when I first looked at it. So it's very emotional.
Another deputy who was shot, Shelby Edgars, has been released from the hospital. Former President Trump expected in court this morning for a hearing in the case accusing him of illegally keeping classified documents. Aaron Katersky at the federal courthouse there in Florida.
Former President Trump is expected here for a closed-door hearing about classified information at the heart of this case. And the hearing's going to take place in a secure room that's designed to manage the kind of highly sensitive material that former President Trump is accused of mishandling.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at Paul Winkler Inc. Listen, guys, I know a lot of people are worried about the markets right now. So I'm so excited to tell you about this new workshop that Paul Winkler is bringing, and you don't want to miss. It's called Politics and Portfolios, How to Invest During the Election Season. Now, listen, we always talk about Paul bringing education to the table, and that being his mission first and foremost. And this is exactly that. Politics and Portfolios, How to Invest During Election Season. And you can secure your spot by visiting paulwinkler.com/election. I mean, the financial landscape is pretty confusing during an election year. It's confusing when it's not an election year. But during an election year, extra confusing. So how would you expect the market to behave? Well, Paul is going to cut through the noise and deep dive into historical data, giving you facts and explaining things with easy to understand charts and graphs. Paul can break it down for you in a way that you'll be able to understand. He's done that for me time and time again. Now, this will be live online February 23rd at 12 p.m. That's February 23rd at 12 p.m. But, I mean, obviously, life happens. And if you can't make it in real time, register anyway, and they'll shoot you a link to catch the replay. Now, of course, I'm required to tell you that I'm paid every time this ad airs, but here's the thing. I'm also a client of Paul's. He's a fiduciary and an expert resource on financial markets. But you don't have to take my word for it. Let him become a resource for you with this new webinar. The details are online at paulwinkler.com/election. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 9:38. My name is Chris Hand. How are you? You having a good day? What'd you think of the Super Bowl last night? I thought it was woke trash. I do. I don't regret not letting my kids watch a minute of it. I think it's important to kind of see where we are as a culture and how much it's degraded. And I think that was on full display last night. And, they told us that the ads were going to go away from the woke stuff, but it didn't really. It was still pretty woke. The Black National Anthem. I thought we had one national anthem. The He Gets Us ads. Oh, the blasphemy in the He Gets Us ads. I've heard that the people behind the He Gets Us movement, they've done the ad campaigns where they say Jesus was a refugee. And then they do, now last night they had all the artificial intelligence pictures of, mainly white people washing other people's feet. There was one where there was a woman washing the feet of a young girl in front of an abortion clinic. It just feels like woke leftist ideology Trojan horse in these commercials. And the United Methodist Church is behind those ads. That's what I've heard. And they're pretty woke as well. So is that a shocker to you? What did you think about the Super Bowl? 615-737-9986. 4200 says, Chris, why are you obsessing on non-football stuff around the Super Bowl? Because there's so many kids that are impressionable watching this garbage, and there's so many parents that are asleep at the wheel and don't realize what is being pumped into them subliminally. When you have a Super Bowl halftime show where Usher is performing these songs and there are women on stripper poles, and we're supposed to celebrate this? Like, this is a good thing? Is this a good thing? I didn't let my kids watch it, but I know there were kids all over the country that watched this last night. Is this a good thing? To see how far American culture is degraded? And I made the comment earlier, it angers me as a parent because I feel like I've been robbed of these moments with my kids where I had these moments with my dad where we could watch the Super Bowl together growing up every year. And I remember those fondly. And now it's like I can't do that with my 5 and 4-year-old, or he's 6 now, my 6 and my 4-year-old boys. I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl with them because of all this garbage. So this is why I'm obsessing about non-football stuff around the Super Bowl. Because the Super Bowl in and of itself is far more than the game in American society. Way more than the game. If you watch that broadcast back, tell me how much actual football was played compared to the other content that was there. Seriously. The minority of that broadcast was actual football. That's why I'm obsessing over it. Rob in Spring Hill, you're next on the Super Bowl. What's up, Rob?
It's Bob. Thank you so much for taking my call, and bless you, brother, for the courage to bring these topics up, because our children are, as Christians, we certainly know that our children are our most valuable resource. And the only thing that's going to protect them of all the hardships and difficulties in life is to put the anchor of Jesus Christ in their life as a young child.
Amen.
So that they will have that for the storms that are to come. But if we do that, then we have to tell them the truth. He Gets Us commentary, and that is a monumental deception. And again, Methodist Church, we saw the fracturing in that church. But the deception is straight from hell in the all-inclusion progressive movement that homosexuality is okay, that transgenderism is okay, that same-sex marriage is okay. Those are abominations to God. And the thing that they're missing is what John the Baptist said. Jesus wants all of us. He came and spent time with the sick, not the well. The sick are those who are sick in their sins. Those are sins, abomination to God. And if they don't repent and they don't accept the Savior and turn from their sinful ways, they will perish. They will be cast into eternal damnation. and that is being missed. The repentance principle and commentary is being totally ignored in the all-inclusion.
Well,
and God bless the churches who have the courage to share that factually and truthfully. And as parents and grandparents and great-grandparents, for me, we have that obligation to instill the truth in our children and not enable them to be deceived and lost.
Well, and it seemed like the commentary in this commercial was more acceptance of sin as opposed to repenting and then being born again through Jesus, which, like, everybody sins. I'm a sinner. You know what I mean? Like, but you're redeemed through Christ and through repentance. You're not redeemed because, your sin has been accepted. Sin is not accepted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bless you, brother, for sharing that and having the courage to do so, because the major sporting events in this country, as your associate pointed out, brings major suffering for children. I'm a combat veteran. I'm a retired police officer, and I see what's happening. And so, those events, and to watch these athletes disrespect their coaches and to show themselves, that's nothing but disrespect for our children, that if we're trying to coach them or use a sport as a relevance to how they should be in their lives, we're teaching them the wrong thing by exposing them to such garbage.
Amen. And it's like, especially the young kids whose parents are asleep at the wheel, they're subliminally taking this all in, and they have no idea what kind of deception's even being thrown at them.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Hey, I appreciate your call, Bob. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir.
It angers me. It really does. And again, a lot of people want, the Super Bowl in Nashville. That's why we're building a new stadium. But the Super Bowl is a hot spot for sex trafficking. This is our last caller, Bob, mentioned it. You don't realize the devastation that comes with the Super Bowl. You have no idea. Hundreds of millions of people watch it on TV. But nobody talks about the fact that sex trafficking is happening with it. It doesn't even get discussed. It doesn't even get brought up. It's a shame. Ed in Nashville, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Ed? Hey, Ed. Is it Ed? Ed in Nashville, what's up, man? All right, Ed, I'm going to put you on hold, and then my producer will get you back on. A lot of people asking what I thought about the RFK ad. Did you see the RFK ad last night on the Super Bowl? In all honesty, I thought that was one of the better commercials. RFK aired a commercial where he did a remake of JFK's TV ad when he was going up against Nixon in that presidential election. I thought it was smooth. I thought it was smart. I think his marketing people need a raise and deserve a lot of credit for that ad. However, it doesn't really make me change my mind on RFK. I still think he's a little bit too woke for me. I agree with a couple of his stances, but after the stance on vaccines and the medical pharma industrial complex and his stance on the CIA, FBI, I don't know how much we have in common with Robert F. Kennedy. Thought the ad was good, though. A lot of people in Super Text wanted to know. Ed in Nashville, you're on Super Talk. What's up, Ed?
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Oh, okay. My name is not Ed. That's what was throwing me off.
Oh, sorry, dude.
Anyways, I just want to say, man, tuning into the radio station today, it really makes me happy to hear Jesus Christ brought up on this station. That makes my whole day, man. I really appreciate that last caller. And I did watch the game last night, but the bigger message is what that guy was saying. And then to hear you talk about him as well, man, you're becoming one of my favorite hosts because a lot of people around you don't feel the same, my brother.
No,
just keep spreading the message, and God bless you.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate the call. I think as far as raising kids, that's the most important thing you can do. It is create them that foundation. Build the house on a rock, right? And that's for me. That's what we want. At least for my kids. A super texter brought up, he said, Chris, not to be rude, but the time you had with your dad, he trusted you to learn and make your own decisions with your family. Shouldn't you do the same with your kids so you can learn and teach them? Yeah, but not at 4 and 6, because they can't understand the concepts that are being subliminally thrown at them.
Yeah, they're very
most of what they're taking in is subliminal anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all underhanded messaging, and it's
and
such a young age to try and give them decisions on their own.
And it's hard because, like, we're talking about the he gets us ad and the blasphemous nature of it. Like, maybe I could sit down and really break that down with them well, but then there's going to be other ads with other crude stuff, and I can't sit there and break down and analyze every aspect of the game with a young 5 or 6 year old.
Yeah, and there's even a difference between now and when I was a kid. I'm only 26 right now, but 20 years ago when I was 6 years old, the only thing I had to worry about making my own decisions about was who I was going to hang out with in the neighborhood. They have access to social media now. TV and YouTube is so widespread now that you can have access to it anywhere. And I know you're a great parent from the things we've talked about, but it's a different world for what they have to make their own decisions about, because everything is trying to impress upon them.
Yeah, 6442 texted in and said, why are your kids at 4 and 6 awake that late on a school night? They weren't. They were in bed. But it's 5 o'clock on the West Coast, and you have a West Coast Super Bowl team in the Super Bowl. There are kids that are impressionable that are watching this garbage. I had somebody text in and says, this is exactly why I no longer call myself a Christian. Every year, it's the same thing. Christians complain about all the sinful things around the Super Bowl. Just decide what is more important to you, watching football or upholding your beliefs. You won't die if you don't watch it. No, but I'm also not going to sit on the sidelines and not call out the absolute garbage that I see. There's so many people that watch this, they witness this, and they say nothing. You have to speak up. All weekend long at church, and my pastor's been doing this thing, choose difficult. Yes, it would be much easier for me to be quiet and be like, wow, the Chiefs won a great game. Much easier. Choose difficult. And I'm sorry, if you're deciding to no longer call yourself a Christian because Christians complain about sinful things, I'm not sure if you were ever a Christian in the first place, 1045. Honestly. That's between you and your Bible, and I suggest you pray on that. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, stop and go traffic in Spring Hill. This is 65 northbound between Saturn Parkway and 840. And then in Murfreesboro, right shoulders are blocked, both east and westbound I-24, right there near Joe B. Jackson Parkway. That's for a crash. Stray bullets fly in Nashville, and a memorial for a murdered Tennessee deputy is growing as the manhunt for the killer continues. Former President Trump in court today and a court in Europe ordering Israel be cut off from fighter jet parts. These stories and more at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We've been talking about the Super Bowl. Dave in McMinnville, he says he has a solution for me. What's up, Dave? You're next on Super Talk.
Yeah, good to hear from you, buddy. I'll tell you, if it wasn't for you and Matt, I'd be in trouble all day. Anyway, I've been trying to tell people this for 10 years, where it was going. I quit watching TV. I stayed busy. I got projects and things like that. But for people out there who want to watch some TV, want their kids to grow up right, get a Roku, Fire Stick, get on there and go back to the 60s and 70s and early 80s. Watch the moral shows, Partridge Family and things like that.
Yep.
And get away from this stuff because it's going to get worse. I mean, we on the tip of the iceberg. But other than that, it's just I haven't watched sports in at least 20. No. I give up on all this, and I occasionally watch a DVD or something that's good. But generally, I have nothing except I listen to the radio and stay busy, and I do just fine.
No, I get it, man. And as far as my kids go, we do just that. We have a Roku, and we really just go back in time a lot.
I'm telling you, well, when you get to be my age, you always looking back and think it's a few years, and you think, man, that was 2 decades ago. Oh, my God. When you become a senior citizen, it'll really get your attention, I'll tell you. But anyway, y'all have a fine day, and everybody stay healthy out there.
You too, Dave. Thanks for calling, man. God bless. All right, on the way, I want to talk about Joe Biden hiding all weekend as his surrogates do damage control. Plus, Trump was in South Carolina. We got that all for you and more on the way on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Right now in Nashville, a man is in custody after shots fired in a Walgreens parking lot went into someone's home. Channel 4 says it happened at the store near 65 and Dickerson Pike. 19-year-old Zarek Johnson arrested, booked on 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, reckless endangerment, firearm, theft, and vandalism. Police say he told officers he was shooting at 2 people he thought were trying to steal his car. No one in the home where the bullet hit was hurt. Turns out the gun he had was stolen. And the memorial for Blount County Deputy Greg McGowan is growing. Flowers covering his patrol car parked out in the community.
We came to show our respect to the falling officer because you never think it would hit home. You see it everywhere else, but you never think it would hit our area.
Now a $100,000 reward being offered for information leading to the arrest of Kenneth DeHart, who's accused of gunning down Deputy McGowan, injuring another deputy. 911 or 1-800-TBI-FINE, the numbers to call if you know anything about DeHart's whereabouts. Former President Trump expected in court in Florida this morning for a hearing in the case accusing him of illegally keeping classified documents. The judge in Florida has ruled some of it must be made public, but special counsel Jack Smith trying to convince her to reconsider, arguing that would expose witnesses to what he thinks is significant and immediate risks of threats, intimidation, and harassment. A court in Europe wants to stop the flow of fighter jet parts to Israel. We get more from Tom Rivers at the Foreign Desk.
Citing what they call a clear risk of violations of international law, Court of Appeals judges put the brake on the Netherlands supplying any more F-35 parts to Israel. 3 human rights organizations brought the suit, arguing authorities needed to reevaluate the export license in light of Israeli military action in Gaza. Under the ruling, the Dutch must cease exports within 7 days, although the decision can be appealed.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. I do my best. Some of you guys have the weirdest handles, and I just feel like you're Russian bots. Russia, you know? So just send me a message. I'll follow you. Are you on Twitter, Mason?
I don't hang out on the old X machine there.
You don't do that?
It's not my thing. It's not my thing.
Fair enough.
I was like, I hardly scroll Instagram at this point.
You more of a TikToker?
Kind of, but not. I don't even post on there. I just share dumb videos with my friends. That's about it.
I've never done the TikTok.
Yeah, I try to keep as much information of myself off there as I can.
I hear you. It's getting harder and harder.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And as we move toward Super Tuesday, that's coming. Are you ready for this?
Am I ever ready? I don't think so.
Well, Super Tuesday, March 5th, we're having a party at the Nashville Palace. Free event.
Ooh.
It's free. We're going to be broadcasting live as the results come in. Spoiler alert, I don't think Nikki Haley is going to be having many wins.
Sounds pretty accurate. I don't think I can argue that.
I don't see it being a very pro Nikki Haley crowd.
I don't either.
At Super Tuesday at the Nashville Palace. But we're all going to be there. Dan's going to be there, myself, Matt Murphy, Brian Wilson, a night of fun food conversation. You can actually reserve your table online, and that'll get you in the running for a massive hot chicken and barbecue tailgate package for 25 people. So it's free. Reserve your table online, and you'll be entered to win this tailgate package for 25 people. The event starts at 6, but you can reserve your table now at 997WTN.com. And it's all brought to us by our friends at the Glock store at shoot270.com, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, and nutrition.com.
What's that date and time one more time?
March 5th, Nashville Palace. Starts at 6.
Perfect.
It's going to be hype. The whole crew.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Whole squad.
Cool.
You know
I might swing by.
You
We'll see
what
what happens.
You know what I've been looking for?
What?
And I don't know why nobody makes this yet. So, do you remember the old Roger Goodell T-shirts where they had a clown nose on them?
Yeah.
So at our last Super Talk event, I had my blazer on with my Trump mugshot shirt. So at this Super Talk event, I've been looking for a Nikki Haley face with a clown nose on it. I can't find one anywhere. We
have some talented listeners. I think if we put it out into the ether there, maybe we can get somebody to make you something.
This is what I need. I need a Nikki Haley shirt where she's wearing a clown nose.
Big old clown nose. Maybe some. Do you want the clown makeup or just the nose? Maybe a wig.
Not the wig.
Not the wig too much.
The wig may be too much.
The nose calls out just perfectly.
Could go either way on the makeup.
That'd be interesting.
These are the things I need. I honestly spent a good portion of the weekend looking for this.
I mean, you weren't watching the Super Bowl.
No. I was just angry.
Yeah. Got to find the humor in other things.
I'm going to take this out of Nikki Haley. So over the weekend, Joe Biden just decided to hide. He hid. And CNN actually, said, yeah, he's hiding. He's hiding. But he hides all weekend long. CBS called him out on hiding and the fact that they're in full damage control mode. I'm going to need some audio. They're in full damage control mode in the Biden campaign.
This is not a new problem for the White House and for the Biden campaign. There have been long-standing, mounting questions about his age and mental sharpness. And so this only adds to those concerns. And that is why you are seeing so much damage control. That is why the president insisted that he could have the opportunity to take questions and address this head on.
Well, yeah, and when he addressed it head on, he kind of just fell into it. Remember, he addressed the president of Egypt as the president of Mexico when he decided to address this head on. Of course, we're talking about the fact that the special counsel report came out and Joe Biden was not charged for having classified documents because he's an old man with a poor memory that means well, and no jury would convict him because he's a sympathetic figure. So his surrogates have been on damage control all weekend long, as CBS says.
At the same time, though, Catherine, another issue might be how willing they are to acknowledge that Americans feel this way and have concerns about his age and cognitive state, because when asked about it twice and how he would reassure voters who have those concerns, he grew angry and frustrated.
Angry and frustrated. It's one of the signs of dementia. It's a symptom. Like if you're not understanding and you're getting confused, you grow angry, agitated, irritated.
If I were that lost in my own head, I think I would be too. I mean, it's completely understandable, but it's also...
I honestly feel bad for him. And I'm like, my wife would never set me up for that to continue a payday. Like, my wife loves me too much. Where is Dr. Jill Biden in all of this? Well, actually, I'll tell you where Dr. Jill Biden is. New reports are coming out that in 2022, Joe had a gaffe-filled presser, and Jill Biden scolded White House aides after it, saying, why didn't anyone stop that? I say to you, Jill Biden, I'm wondering the same thing now. Why isn't anyone stopping this? I feel like as his wife, you should step up. But First Lady Jill Biden scolded White House aides after they allowed her husband to participate in a press conference in which he made a series of gaffes in 2022.
What a ridiculous clown show.
It is a ridiculous clown show. And they say, why didn't anyone stop that? The First Lady demanded after the president and his aides gathered after a 2022 news event that lasted over 2 hours. Answering questions, the president suggested a minor incursion by Russia into Ukraine might not lead a strong international response. So it's this gaffe-filled Ukraine presser. And apparently Joe Biden is so upset that she goes, where were you guys? And at the time, it included White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. Where was the person who was going to end the press conference? She's so upset. Aides had passed the president a note card during that press conference, informing him that it was time to end the press conference, but he continued on. In that press conference, he made several factual errors, including mistakenly referring to a visit at an AstraZeneca factory, misstating the amount of money sent to Ukraine, and getting the number of Americans vaccinated with COVID-19 vaccines wrong. And Jill Biden yelled at the staffers. She doesn't look out for her husband. She blames the people around her husband. It's really bad in the White House. And because of that, Joe hid all weekend long, as NBC reports.
President Biden spending the weekend here at his home while we expect his surrogates will start doing that damage control, fanning out and characterizing the special counsel as a political opportunist.
So they're saying he's hiding in his home, back to the basement for Joe. Everybody's being mean to him. We got to hide the president. Is he going to make it to November, or is it going to be another basement campaign? It blows my mind. And yes, there were surrogates of Joe Biden out all weekend long, covering for him. And I'll tell you what, at this point, I think covering for Joe Biden's mental sharpness is political suicide. How can I take you serious if we're watching the same old man speak like this and you're telling me everything's fine? Now, I understand it's some of these people's jobs, but they should never be working in politics again, including Biden campaign co-chair by the name Mitch Landrieu. He was one of those Biden surrogates that was out defending Joe Biden's memory all weekend long on the talking head shows.
And I'm telling you, this guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game. And as Secretary Mayorkas said a minute ago, when you go in to brief the president, you better have your big boy pants on. And this kind of sense that he's not ready for this job is just a bucket of BS that's so deep, your boots will get stuck in.
This stuff that he's not so sharp is a bucket of BS so deep that your boots will get stuck in it, says Biden campaign co-chair Mitch Landrieu. about Biden's mental fitness. This is on NBC's Meet the Press. And to her credit, Kristen Welker pushes back against this man.
Understood, but Americans don't agree with what you're saying. In fact, our NBC News poll found that 76% of voters are concerned about whether the president has the necessary mental and physical health to be president for a second term.
Like, sir, I understand that this is your job to say that Joe Biden is sharp, but the overwhelming majority of Americans don't believe you. 76% according to an NBC poll. Now, Mitch Landrieu wasn't the only one out carrying water for Joe Biden over the weekend. Biden campaign co-chair Chris Coons was also out there doing damage control. And I always bring this up whenever Chris Coons comes up. This is the guy who let Joe Biden sniff his daughter's hair and then still continues to carry water for him. His poor daughter was uncomfortable as the geriatric old man that we have in the White House sniffed her hair. And he still goes out and defends the man. And now he's going out and defend this man, despite the fact what we all see, what we all hear, what we all know, he's not all there. And I feel terrible having to repeat this about Joe Biden, because if he wasn't the president, like you shouldn't go at somebody for aging and having mental issues. But the fact of the matter is, he's in control of the White House. He's got the guy, he's our commander in chief. He's got the nuclear codes. And this is who we're supposed to trust. So Chris Coons goes out there. He shouldn't have defended this old man after he sniffed his daughter's hair. No self-respecting father would do that. But, I digress. He goes out there and then he defends Joe Biden's mental sharpness. And he does it by blaming the media. Oh, it's the media's fault.
I mean, there are a number of these incidents, and they may be gassed. We all make mistakes. But this is what the American public is seeing, and it's raised concerns. Our poll shows over 80% responding, saying that they think that Biden is too old to serve as president again.
And Jonathan, if press coverage focuses relentlessly on things that don't represent Joe Biden's real body of work, you can push towards that kind of result.
Oh, it's the media's fault. Now, I will say this. If this is the new pivot, that they're going to say the media is manufacturing this crisis of Biden's mental sharpness, it's an interesting pivot. Because if there's one thing that the Americans trust probably less than Joe Biden's mental sharpness, it's the mainstream media. I think we can all agree with that. I would probably, I don't know. Do you trust Joe Biden to tell you the truth before the mainstream media? It's a toss-up.
Might as well be flipping coins at that point.
Listen, so I think that this is an interesting pivot, and Chris Coons leans into that. Oh, it's the media's fault. If you guys focused on his accomplishments as much as you do this, then, maybe we'd get some real stuff. And then, when the media play doesn't work, oh, it's the media's fault that we're having these issues with Joe Biden. Chris Coons falls back on Old Faithful, which is, of course, did I mention Orange Man bad?
And what you should be focused on, in my view, what that poll should have focused on, what our nation should focus on,
can I stop
is the
you for a
ways
second,
that
though, because
Donald Trump is undermining rule of law, democracy, and our safety as a nation.
But we do have polling on the issues you're discussing, and the polling shows widespread disapproval of how President Biden has handled the border and also the foreign policy.
Yeah, so we have that polling, sir. Doesn't look good. Says, oh, but did I mention Orange Man bad? I will say this. Some Democrats have actually been pretty smart about all this, including Democrat Senator Tammy Baldwin, who's up for re-election in a battleground. And, if Dems aren't covering for Biden and his mental sharpness, well, they're doing what Tammy Baldwin is doing, and they're downright avoiding it.
I tried to catch up with Tammy Baldwin, a senator from Wisconsin who's up for re-election in a battleground state, and she literally said to me, I don't want to talk about this story.
Hey, hold on. Before you go on, we have that quote there, Tammy Baldwin. This isn't a story I really want to talk about. Senator John Tester, who's the Montana Democrat up for re-election, both of them vulnerable Democrats. I really haven't had a chance to read the report. When I get a chance, I'll read it. This was a Friday, day after the report.
I really don't want to talk about that. Once I get a chance to read the report, I'll get back to you. What are the odds that guy never reads the report?
And never calls again.
Yeah. That's probably the smart play. Just don't read it so that way you're not lying. You can say, I'm sorry, I just have not read the report.
It's like, I'll get to it. I'll get to it eventually.
I'm going to eventually do that.
It's like my list of Netflix shows that I'm going to get to. I'll get to them eventually.
I've not had an opportunity to read that. But Senator Tammy Baldwin, Democrat senator, that's the smart play. Hey, I don't want to talk about this. Oh. Okay, Miss Baldwin. That's interesting. But I will say this, at least you're honest. Tammy Baldwin, again, is in Wisconsin. She's been a senator since 2013. This may be the smartest play out of any Democrat. I'm just going to let you know, not something I want to talk about. She says it all without saying a word. She doesn't cover for him. She doesn't lie to her constituents. She just says, not really what I want to talk about. Full disclosure. It's better than what the other Democrats are doing, which is just a full-scale gaslighting of the American people. I'd much rather somebody say, I don't want to talk about that, than say, what do you mean? Everything's fine. He's the sharpest guy I know. That's what a lot of Democrats are doing. It's 1021 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. The guys at Busy Bee know it is the perfect time of year to get your system serviced the best way, the Busy Bee way with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. I mean, this is the time of year where we're kicking on the heat, and pretty soon we're going to be kicking on the AC. So if your HVAC isn't working the way it should be, you should not be waiting for a problem to pop up with it. You should be proactive. Keep your unit in tip-top shape. Now, whether you need that annual maintenance or you need something repaired or replacement, plumbing, heating, or air system, you got to call who I trust, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And if you do need a replacement, you won't find a better value on replacement systems. The guys at Busy Bee offer up to 12 months, no payment, no interest with approved credit, and it pays in so many ways to have that annual maintenance on your calendar for your plumbing, heating, and air systems from Busy Bee. Plus, you can get added rewards and savings by signing up to be a Beehive member. What that includes is front-of-the-line service. Dan Mandis of Nashville's Morning News proved this just a few weeks ago. He had a plumbing issue. He said Busy Bee was over there in 90 minutes. That's what front-of-the-line service looks like. Plus, you'll get that front-of-the-line service. You'll get that thorough annual maintenance on your plumbing, heating, and air systems. No overtime charges, 24/7, and 10% off all repairs. It pays to be a Beehive member. Plus, the guys at Busy Bee know that a lot of conservatives are working Monday through Friday and definitely have those convenient Saturday availability for you for those maintenance calls, so you'll never be left out in the cold. Busy Bee, they're your Rude Pro partner. The satisfaction guaranteed. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, or online at busybeehvac.com.
Spring Hill stop and go traffic 65 northbound between Saturn Parkway and 840. And in Murfreesboro, the right shoulders are blocked both north and southbound I-24 or east and westbound, however you want to call it, right there at Joe B. Jackson Parkway. And Israeli hostages rescued. These stories and more coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, all these questions about Joe Biden's age, mental competency. It's amazing. I always find these old clips of Joe Biden floating around the internet, and they never age well. That's a Biden theme, right? It's a Biden theme.
You don't know if they came out last week or 3 years ago. And it's
so there's
surprising.
a clip. There's a clip from 2018 where he's talking about his age being questioned. And how those questions are fine. It's fine to ask those questions.
Is age a legitimate issue?
It is a legitimate issue. Sure it is. And I think people are going to judge it. If I were to run, I think they're going to judge me on my vitality. Can I still run up the steps of Air Force Two? Am I still in good shape? Do I have all my faculties? Am I energetic? I think it's totally legitimate for people to ask those questions.
So in 2018, it was totally legitimate to ask those questions. Can he run up the steps of Air Force Two? Let's play this out. Can he run up the stairs of Air Force Two?
I haven't seen him make it to the stairs recently.
I've seen him do like a quick 2-step shuffle.
Yeah, but we're not talking about dancing. We're trying to go upstairs here.
Yeah. I don't think he can run upstairs.
I don't think so either.
No. Does he have all of his mental faculties?
I mean, again, I don't think so.
I mean, if you're referring to the president of Egypt as the president of Mexico during a press conference where you're trying to illustrate the fact that you still got it.
It's a little more than questionable for sure.
Also, somebody on the super text line 1833 said, maybe if it's the baby steps. It's like, I totally forget. There's so much with Joe Biden that I forget because there's just always more getting piled on. He's been using the short steps on Air Force One for months. For months. Because they don't want him to slip and fall. They don't want him to slip and fall. 4774 said, why Air Force Two? I said, well, this was 2018, so he was talking about running the first time. So, that's, again, he's not all there. I think that's the best way to put it.
Can I still run up the steps of Air Force Two? Am I still in good shape? Do I have all my faculties? Am I energetic? I think it's totally legitimate for people to ask those questions.
Do you think Joe is energetic when he falls asleep, it seems like, with world leaders? Honestly.
He's just getting more energy so he can be energetic with them when his time comes to talk.
It's John says on the super text line, to be fair, Chris, Biden didn't have much mental faculty to start with. All right, that's fair. That's fair. Mayorkas was covering for Biden over the weekend as well as he's getting pressed by Kristen Welker on Meet the Press. I got that clip for you after Ken Weaver's news, which happens right now on Super Talk.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. The Israeli military says its forces rescued 2 hostages overnight, 128 days after they were captured by Hamas October 7th. Here's James Longman.
Told that this operation laid siege to a building in Rafah where the 2 men were being held at gunpoint on the 2nd floor. This was a complex operation during which the IDF say they took fire. These 2 men were brought to this hospital by helicopter in the early hours of this morning, and medical staff say they are in good condition.
2 Israeli soldiers died during the rescue. Here in Tennessee, a memorial for fallen Blount County Deputy Greg McGowan growing. The community showing up for prayer vigils and to put flowers on his patrol car and reassuring each other.
Yeah, everybody has everybody's back, and it's very thoughtful that everybody does that. Everybody comes together. Community this small comes together this time.
Deputy McGowan and Deputy Shelby Eggers were shot during a traffic stop. A $100,000 reward being offered for information leading to the arrest of the suspect, Kenneth DeHart. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Is age a legitimate issue?
It is a legitimate issue. Sure it is. And I think people are going to judge it. If I were to run, I think they're going to judge me on my vitality. Can I still run up the steps of Air Force Two? Am I still in good shape? Do I have all my faculties? Am I energetic? I think it's totally legitimate for people to ask those questions.
That was Joe Biden back in 2018. Mickey on the Super Text line says, getting the runs going up the stairs is different than running up the stairs. That's fair. That's fair. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We are talking about the resident-in-chief at the old folks' home known as the White House, Pennsylvania Ave. You want to weigh in? 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. Republicans, they want transcripts of the Biden interview with the special counsel. You know, the report that called him an elderly man with a memory so diminished, he even forgot his own son's death date. Republican-led House Oversight Committee is demanding to get the transcripts of those interviews with special counsel Robert Hur because, according to Hur's own report, contain a multitude of examples of his hazy memory. I'd like to see those transcripts.
Yeah, and what's hard about that is I don't want them to come to light because I would hate for him to stuff, especially about his family. It's like, if that's out of his mind and he's forgetting that stuff, it's like I would hate for that to come to light, to put him in a bad light, but also it opens up our eyes even more so to the very obvious point of view of he should not be in this position anymore.
Or the obvious question of, is he even running the country? Who is in charge if it's not Joe Biden? Hur's inclusion of language in his report referring to the president as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory has been explosive, to say the least. And then we got the Biden press conference where he was angry and yelling at reporters and then mistaking the fact that the president of Egypt is the president of Mexico. Well, James Comer wants more info. He's saying the Justice Department should immediately release the transcript from the special counsel's interview with Joe Biden. He posted that on Twitter, saying the American people deserve transparency about the president's mental state. Yeah. Sure do. I don't know how much more transparent it needs to be. I think we can all see in real time that his mind is failing him. But James Comer says the Justice Department must provide Congress with unfettered access to these documents to determine if President Biden's retention of sensitive materials were used to help the Bidens influence peddling schemes. That's what he wants to know. The investigative push indicates Biden is continued to face lingering political challenges in the aftermath of this probe. Even though it's been announced he's not going to be charged with any crimes because he's a well-meaning old man with memory issues. He's just a well-meaning old guy. The report literally said the jury, if he was charged, would be sympathetic since he comes off as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. That's the guy we got running the White House. That's him. His surrogates were out in full force over the weekend. In fact, Mitch Landrieu, who I played earlier, also went as far to say Joe Biden is never, ever, ever going to quit. Never, ever going to quit. I think Democrats need to remove him. But unfortunately, it's like the only thing less popular than Joe Biden is Kamala Harris. But they cover for this man. They say, oh, he's all there. What are you talking about? What do you mean? He's doing fine. He's doing just fine. Is he, though? Is he really? It's unbelievable to me that we have these conversations and we can all see he's not okay. He's not okay. On the flip side of the political spectrum, we have Trump, who's throwing massive events in South Carolina, Nikki Haley's home state. And during this rally in South Carolina, there's a video going around online, actually, real quick, where it's Trump addressing the overflow crowd that he had in South Carolina. And the overflow crowd looks bigger than anything Nikki Haley could draw in her own state. And then they have a video of Nikki Haley pulling up, and there's about 3 people sitting in lawn chairs welcoming her in her home state. So Trump's at his rally in South Carolina, and he brings up the fact that we're all, what we're all thinking. Who's running the White House? And Trump says he thinks it's Obama.
I don't think he knows what the hell he's doing anyway, so. I always say by the people that surround him, or by, sometimes I'll interchange, I'll say by Barack Hussein Obama. Barack Hussein. But every time I say that, the fake news, oh, that's a lot of fake news back there. The fake news. Every time I say it, anytime I want to have a little fun, Governor, we have fun sometimes, even though the country's going to hell, we have to have a little bit of fun. But every time I interchange Barack Hussein Obama, remember Rush Limbaugh? He'd go, Barack Hussein Obama. I wonder what he was getting at. But every time I do interchanging, we do a little interchanging, they say, he doesn't know who the president is. He thinks it's Barack Obama. I say, no, but I think Barack Obama has a lot to do with running the country right now, and we can't let that happen.
A lot of people seem to think the same thing. And listen, the questions are there because we know Joe probably has trouble putting his pants on in the morning. Honestly. And then we see the 2 tiers of justice, the weaponization of the Justice Department under the Biden administration, how Biden gets treated with these classified documents versus how Trump gets treated with these classified documents. Trump actually mentioned the documents at this South Carolina rally as well.
Years ago, the Biden Department of Injustice let Crooked Joe off the hook for some of his very egregious crimes, including his brazen theft of classified documents long before he was ever president. He's been doing this for 50 years. They couldn't believe it. I remember a certain senator got up and said, no way he did that. No way. But he did it. He took them when he was a senator. You can't do it. Now, in my case, I'm covered by the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to do what I do.
And in Trump's case, they were well organized and under Secret Service protection in Mar-a-Lago. In Biden's case, they were in a garage, a locked garage, the same garage where he keeps his Corvette, but a garage nonetheless that Hunter Biden had access to during COVID. The same Hunter Biden who is a drug addict and has ties to foreign businesses all over the globe. Weird.
But he wasn't covered. He was a vice president, not covered, and he was a senator. But this is yet more proof that we have a weaponized 2-tier system of justice in this country. Crooked Joe got off scot-free. Now, I don't know if you call it scot-free. They said he was a mental basket case. Okay, so I wouldn't say it's totally scot-free. In fact, I think maybe if I had my choice, I'd take the other. I'd go through a little process, but that's better than what happened. But they said he was a disaster mentally. And
they said he was a disaster mentally. Trump brings up the point, I'd rather go through the process than be called a disaster mentally. And there's 2 ways of going about this. You have Trump, which is fighting those charges tooth and nail and bucking against the system. And they demonize him for that. And a lot of people think maybe Joe was putting on an act, so that way he didn't get charged. But politically committing suicide in the same breath. I don't know. I probably would have fought all of those and not be blasted as a mental basket case, as Trump says.
Mental basket case. Okay, so I wouldn't say it's totally scot-free. In fact, I think maybe if I had my choice, I'd take the other. I'd go through a little process, but that's better than what happened.
I feel like that would be better than what happened because politically, how do you recover from this? Honestly. Politically, how do you recover from this? Now, he has his surrogates out there blaming the media, like Chris Coons, campaign co-chair. And I made this point earlier. It's like, oh, well, it's an interesting pivot to blame the media, because that's probably one of the only things that the American public trusts less than Joe Biden. It's like, I trust Joe Biden really low, and then I trust Kamala Harris even less, and then I trust the media even less than both of them. Heck of a pivot. But where does the Biden campaign go from here? Honestly, if you remove Biden with the 25th Amendment, Trump runs against Kamala Harris, who is liked even less. There is no good political way out for the Democrats at this point in time. None. What is the political way out? How can they recover from this? Maybe they just bet on short memories and time. But a lot of people think that something's going to have to change in the Biden camp. Something has to change for the Democrats if they want to win in November. And so everybody says, well, what do you do? Is it Michelle Obama? Is that who it's going to be? I don't know. Are they too far down the road? They'd have to make a change soon if they're going to swap them out. It's the most fascinating political story that we have. Period. What do the Democrats do? Well, it seems like they're already working with big tech to sway people. Instagram is done recommending political content ahead of the 2024 election. Instagram and Threads, which is their failed Twitter takeover. So I know nobody's on Threads. But Instagram is stopping recommending political content ahead of the 2024 election, saying we've shifted away from ranking political content in Facebook feed based on engagement signals. That was announced on Friday, that it will not proactively recommend political content on Instagram, similar to the way in which they've restricted it on Facebook over the last few years. Which is fascinating to me, because it seems like the demographic that's on Instagram is the youth vote, which Biden is losing in droves. So that would, it leans me to believe that would benefit Democrats. No? In a statement it's on its website, Meta, which is the parent company of Instagram, Facebook, said, people have told us that they want to see less political content. So we've spent the last few years refining our approach on Facebook to reduce the amount of political content, including politicians' accounts you see in the feed. Which is fascinating to me, because ever since it became wide out in the open that the Biden White House is actively working with these big tech companies to censor people and shut people down and block people and remove them from platforms, now they're going to proactively not recommend political content. Interesting. And they've extended this approach in the Reels format, Explore, and in-feed recommendation on Instagram, the statement added. The announcement noted that they are preserving your ability to find and interact with political content that's meaningful to you, if that's what you're interested in on Facebook, on the Facebook feed, using an AI system, but they've shifted away from ranking political content in Facebook feed based on engagement signals. So the conspiracy theory in me goes, oh, okay. So it's going to basically limit anything negative Democrat and anything positive Republican. Maybe I've just been burned too many times by big tech and how the Democrats own big tech to think that that's the route. The company also revealed on the Instagram website that they would be allowing users to select if they still want to see political content or not, and that control will also roll out to Facebook on a later date. Oh, let us know if you still want to see it. Big tech. I, for one, am just thankful we have Twitter not in the hands of these left-wing radicals any longer. Because at least we have one platform that is a free speech platform. And there's a lot with Elon Musk I don't agree with, including his position on carbon taxes. But you got to give him credit for letting people have an area, a digital public square, if you will, for free speech. Because we see Instagram is already shutting that down. Facebook is shutting it down. I think the only reason they're shutting it down is because there's nothing positive coming out of the left as we head towards this general election in November. It's 10:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Williamson County got some road work slowing down both north and southbound 65 around Saturn Parkway. A stray bullet hit a home in Nashville this morning. Israeli hostages freed. A hearing in Fulton County, Georgia, to determine whether DA Fani Willis has to testify in the conflict of interest case filed against her. That's the latest, or rather, these stories with the latest at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Our friend Bob in Columbia is on line one. Bob, do you think that all this Biden stuff is going to create an opportunity for RFK, correct?
Well, I think it was kind of a coincidence that the ad yesterday during the Super Bowl for Kennedy came out, which I thought was an interesting strategy.
So do you think...
Because what's going on with Biden right now.
Do you think that he would have an actual chance?
No, I do not. Although I myself I grew up a Democrat in Chicago. I kind of turned more independent. One of my first votes was for Ross Perot, believe it or not, which I thought was good to have a businessman in the office at that time.
Yeah.
And, so I looked overall at candidates, and but like you mentioned earlier, I don't agree with everything about Kennedy, and some of his stuff's a little far-fetched. But
no, I'm with you, and I think that it will create an opportunity for him. I don't know if he could do anything in this election. I think that that's a pipe dream, but
right.
Maybe it sets him up for 28. Maybe the Democrat Party comes back more towards the middle, and
but don't be surprised. I'm telling you, don't be surprised if the Democrats now say, "Wait a minute, we need a different candidate."
No, I think that is definitely on the table. I just don't think that RFK would be the guy that they would tap to replace him.
No.
Because I think I
don't have an idea who they would have. Do you?
I think maybe Gavin Newsom is the guy who's just eagerly waiting by his phone for a call. But it would never be RFK, because I think right now the Democrats are basically in the pocket of the CIA, and RFK is too anti-CIA to be the left's candidate.
Yes. All right, that's what I just wanted to say. So thank you. Appreciate your show.
Hey, thanks, Bob. Appreciate the call. I did hear that the super PAC that ran that Kennedy ad during the Super Bowl didn't get his permission for it.
Oh, interesting.
And that he's apologized to family members about it.
Interesting.
That it wasn't his idea. I thought the ad was brilliant marketing. I really do. But I could understand if he was like, yo, I didn't say that was okay. Like, that's my uncle. Stop.
That's interesting.
It's fascinating, right? It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. And we're learning more about the rescue of those 2 Israeli hostages from Hamas overnight. Here's James Longman, who says many terrorists were killed.
The IDF say they located 2 hostages who are being held in a building in Rafah on the 2nd floor at gunpoint. This operation started at 10 to 2 in the morning local time. Took about 40 minutes, they say. It was called a complex operation to extract them. They took heavy fire, and we were actually speaking to an IDF spokesperson who said that the airstrikes were called in when they were trying to extract these 2 hostages because they were met with some resistance.
Yeah, 2 Israeli soldiers died. Right now in Nashville, the teenagers charged after a stray bullet flew into a home in North Nashville. This happening near the Walgreens on 65 and Dickerson Pike. Channel 4 says 19-year-old Zarek Johnson told officers he was shooting at 2 people in the Walgreens parking lot he thought were trying to steal his car. Fortunately, no one in the home where the bullet hit was hurt. And it turns out the gun Johnson was firing was stolen, according to police. Well, something we'll be monitoring later today. Derek Dennis says there'll be a hearing in the case of Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and an alleged conflict of interest in the Trump election interference case.
The hearing by a judge in Fulton County, Georgia, will consider whether local DA Fonnie Willis and her staff should have to testify under oath about claims she's having a romantic relationship with her special prosecutor in the Trump election interference case, Nathan Wade. One of the co-defendants in the Trump case has alleged Willis and Wade took lavish trips with money Willis pays Wade as a special prosecutor, thereby creating a conflict of interest. Willis and Wade have disputed those claims. Trump lawyers want the pair disqualified from the former president's proceedings.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
.1106 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Instagram, True Social, Twitter, at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. That's at Chris Hand on Air. Will Biden make it to November? I don't know. He doesn't remember what he had for breakfast. Does he know that this is an election year?
I don't think he made what he had for breakfast. I think somebody else is doing it for him.
Fair enough.
Probably not the only thing.
No. Jeez. Trump at his rally in South Carolina over the weekend, he says he doesn't think that Joe's going to make it to November.
He willfully stole gigantic numbers of classified documents, willful. But because of his condition mentally, is this guy going to make it to the starting gate, seriously? Well, it shows you the power of incumbency, doesn't it? If that happens, it's just sort of an incredible thing. But I've been saying no, but you never know. Be the first time I've been wrong in a long time, right? Trump was right about everything. We called every war. We called every single problem. And we would have never had any of those problems. We wouldn't have had Israel attacked. We wouldn't have had Ukraine and Russia fighting and killing everybody and blowing up their cities. And we wouldn't have had inflation because it was started by energy. It was started by oil, gasoline, which doubled, more than doubled.
Yeah, he says he doesn't know. He doesn't know if Joe Biden will make it to November. But how will the Dems get him out? Sally in Spring Hill has an interesting theory. What's up, Sally? You're on Super Talk.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So I was just curious what you think about what happened with Ford, how Ford got into office. So the scenario where they could remove Joe Biden, say that he's not competent, appoint Kamala Harris as president. She gets to choose, I think she gets to choose her own vice president, and then she steps aside, and that vice president becomes president, unelected, and he gets to select his own VP. And then we've got a ticket in there that none of us ever saw coming, none of us voted for, and would that give the Democrats a political advantage?
So I like your theory. I think there's a couple things that we run into roadblocks with. The first being Kamala Harris's popularity, or lack thereof, is a better way to put it.
Right.
So I don't think if Joe Biden steps aside, I don't think Kamala Harris is the one that's going to win you an election in November. Democrats may resort to Democrat tricks, but I don't know if that's the move.
Right, but if she then steps down, or if they removed her ahead of time and put somebody in as his VP, like say Gavin Newsom, Stacey Abrams, someone like that, and then that person, you know what I'm saying? Like, because nobody elected Ford. I'm just wondering if they pulled some kind of maneuver like that would get rid of both Kamala Harris and Joe Biden at the same time and get completely fresh people in there that were unelected.
Me personally, I think that they would want to limit the backlash, right? Like, and the lack of time. So you would have to have Joe Biden step down, Kamala Harris step up, and then you'd have to have Kamala Harris step down and somebody else step up. I don't know if there's enough time for all that. I think that the move would be, Kamala Harris would have to be like, Joe Biden stepping down and I'm not going to seek re-election. So-and-so is going to focus on the campaign. I'm going to focus on the country. Maybe that happens, but I think it would have to happen in one fell swoop.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering because I didn't know if that would be, politically an advantage for the Democrats to have somebody in there, or if, like you said, they would experience backlash.
I mean, I think no matter what they decide, there's going to be some backlash. It's just going to have to be which is the worst option.
True.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Hey, I appreciate your call, Sally. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
That's Sally in Spring Hill. And I mentioned this before the break. Robert F. Kennedy did apologize to his family for that Super Bowl ad. He said, "I'm so sorry if the Super Bowl advertisement caused anyone in my family pain. The ad was created and aired by the American Value Super PAC without any involvement or approval from my campaign. FEC rules prohibit Super PACs from consulting with me or my staff. I love you all. God bless you." That was RFK Jr.'s statement on his Super Bowl ad, which he did pin the 30-second commercial on his official Twitter account. So his followers saw that before they saw his apology, and he did also share the ad on Instagram. So it's kind of playing both sides of the fence there. I thought the ad was smart. I thought marketing-wise, it was a good move. But I could understand why his family would be upset. Bobby Shriver, a nephew of JFK, said, "My cousin's Super Bowl ad used our uncle's faces and my mother's. She would be appalled by his deadly healthcare views." Of course, a lot of RFK's family don't agree with his vaccine stances. Bobby Shriver also posted, "Respect for science, vaccines, healthcare, and equity were in her DNA." Mark Shriver then shared the post, writing, "I agree with my brother. Simple as that." So maybe he's just apologizing because he's getting backlash from his family. Maybe he's apologizing because he really means it. But he did pin the ad to his Twitter account. I wonder if it's still pinned. Let me look and see if it's still pinned on his Twitter account. RFK Robert. It is still pinned on his Twitter account. So he's apologizing for an ad that he has pinned to his Twitter account. Doesn't seem like a real apology, right? Like if you didn't really want the ad to be there and you're going to apologize for it, why would you pin it? The ad is a remake of a JFK ad. And I thought it was a good ad, honestly. I can understand why his family's going to hate it, but it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s family hates him because of his stances that he has. This is it right here.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through? A man who's old enough to know
and young enough to do?
Well, it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you.
American Value 2024 is responsible for the contents of this advertisement.
So that was the ad. I thought it was smooth. I didn't have a problem with it. I thought this was a better ad than the Trump ad smearing Nikki Haley, which that one only ran in South Carolina, if I recall correctly. But I thought this was a good ad. A lot of people saw it. Brings people back to a time when the Democrats were more sane, right? Because in today's current climate, Democrats are actually quite literally insane. Insane. A Boston city councilwoman, speaking of insane Democrats, she goes by the name Julia Micha. I don't know. They say it in this thing. She was calling on rich towns around Boston to open their doors and resources for illegal aliens.
At Wellesley, Brookline, cities and towns that have so much more resources than the city of Boston.
Boston City Councilwoman Julia Mejia thinks more migrants can be placed outside of Boston.
I think everybody needs to start opening up their doors because this is a shared responsibility.
It's a shared responsibility. Everyone needs to start opening their doors, kind of echoing the same statements that the governor echoed back in August, the governor of Massachusetts saying, "Hey, would you want to take some illegal aliens into your home and house them? Would you want to house these illegal aliens?" There was actually one Massachusetts couple that took the bait and decided to house some illegal aliens.
Colin and Jessica Stokes called the state to sign up to be a host family. It took less than an hour for the displaced migrants to be dropped off at their door.
So these people sign up to take displaced migrants, i.e. illegal aliens. And like less than an hour later, we're here with your migrants.
I got to get sheets on the bed. How many people are coming? Right.
She says, I got to get sheets on the bed. How many people are coming? They had no idea.
I got to get sheets on the bed. How many people are coming? Right. Where are they from? What ages? We really knew nothing.
The need is so clearly overwhelming.
The family of four who didn't want to go on camera had been sleeping at Logan Airport. The parents and two kids journeyed from Chile to Texas, then Massachusetts, and there are so many stories like it.
It boggles the mind that there are so many hundreds of those stories.
So many hundreds of those stories. So these people, out of the goodness of their heart or the wokeness of their mind, decide to take in illegal aliens. Less than an hour later, the government's knocking at their door. We have your illegal aliens that you ordered. and they didn't know how many were coming, where they were from, what ages they are. And they highlight this story on the news where they say, oh, and there was a couple kids, to maybe harvest that emotion and get some more like-minded woke folk to sign up. But I guarantee you, if people start signing up for this, you're going to get a lot less people with kids showing up and a lot more military-aged males. It blows my mind that somebody would open their doors for illegal aliens that they don't know. And all the risk factors that come with that. Does that not blow your mind? That's the woke mind virus right there. We're going to take a family in. All right. I bet you they posted a virtue signal post on Facebook because that's what these leftists do. They got to let people know how good they are. Got to help the migrants, right? Speaking of illegal aliens, in New York City, it's gotten so bad with illegal aliens that the mayor has implemented an 11 p.m. curfew for the 3,600 illegal aliens at city-run shelters. You got to be back inside your shelter from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Curfew. These are just people looking for a better life, right? New York City Mayor Eric Adams is imposing that curfew on illegal aliens residing in the city's shelters. The shelter goes into effect today and will require those illegal aliens to remain inside of the shelters from 11 to 6. It applies to 20 shelters in Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, and the Bronx, and impacts 3,600 illegal aliens. Do you think the woke couple in Massachusetts will impose a curfew on their illegal alien family that they, what's the right word? Rented?
I don't know if it's rented.
Dude, I mean, listen.
I was like, there's no payment exchange. I doubt that.
I do think they probably get something broken off from the government.
Oh, the family?
It doesn't say anything in the news story, but it wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, I don't know what they would offer. I mean, they're like, I guess the government being like, sorry, we allowed them in. Here's this little, I don't know what they would do.
I mean, they're paying for everything else, but
yeah.
In New York City, the curfew is because the increase in criminal activity. You know, like when they beat up those cops, or when the moped gang crime ring was responsible for 62 robberies and then dragged an old lady down the street. Or the teenager that was accused of firing shots at a female security guard that struck a tourist in New York City. So they got to have a curfew. Unbelievable. But this is somehow a good idea. Jenny in Smyrna wants to go back to the last topic we were talking about, president, vice president. Jenny, you're next on Super Talk. What's up?
Hey, good to hear you. I was listening to that lady, and y'all were talking about the secession. So I wanted to read something to you for you and your listeners.
Yes, ma'am.
The order of secession specifies that the office passes to the vice president if the vice president is simultaneously vacant, or if the vice president is also incapacitated. The powers and duties of the presidency pass to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and then next is President pro tempore of the Senate. So
yeah, no, I think we understand the line of secession. I think she was saying that Kamala would take over for Joe, and then appoint a new vice president, and then Kamala would step aside, and that new vice president would step up. So it would kind of circumvent the Speaker of the House. I don't think any Democrat would want to sign up for Mike Johnson to be Speaker of the House, even though a lot of Republicans wonder what he's doing.
To become the vice president.
Yeah, I don't think he would.
That's their whole debacle right now. That's why they're keeping Joe as a puppet there, because they know what the scenario, they know what the law is, and that would put Mike Johnson into play. And they don't want that at all, and that's why they're punishing us. Okay.
I tend to think that they're punishing us because they hate us.
Well, that too.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for the call, Jenny.
Day.
You too. Appreciate you. It's 11:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. You've heard of these guys. They've been around in Middle Tennessee since 1994, and they have 25,000 satisfied customers. There's a good chance you know somebody that's had work done by the guys at USS. Well, what do? They do a little bit of everything. From crawl space floor supports, basement wall realignment. They can fix sinkholes on your property, foundation repair, crawl space encapsulation. And again, they've been doing it since 1994. They aren't going anywhere. The guys at USS are good, honest, hardworking people, proud of the work they do. And after the rain over the weekend, it's the perfect time to poke your head in your crawl space and see if you notice any standing water. Maybe you notice wet basement walls. Maybe you've been seeing cracks in your basement floors. If you see any of those red flags popping up, that is your house trying to tell you something, and you should give the guys at USS a call to take a look. 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. You will not be dissatisfied with USS. They'll come in, create a custom plan and solution for your home, built for your needs, and you won't pay until the work is done. 615-488-7855 or online at ussTN.com.
All right, Williamson County, only one lane open, 65 northbound. That is starting at Saturn Parkway. Looks like they've got some construction going on there. That's also affecting 65 southbound in the same area. Top stories coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Governor Kathy Hochul out of New York was on MSNBC last night talking about illegal aliens and using that opportunity to blame Greg Abbott for all the problems.
Have you ever had a direct conversation with Texas Governor Greg Abbott about his practice of busing migrants to your state?
No, I've not had the pleasure of speaking to him. All I know is it is a political move. He's using these individuals. These are human beings who are coming to our country, following the legal asylum process as it stands right now, and I believe should be amended, but they're following the law, and he's politicizing these people.
Oh, they're following the law, and he's politicizing these people. Okay, like just to break it down, if you cross into the country illegally, you have just broken a law. And this is the same governor of the same state where Mayor Eric Adams has imposed an 11 o'clock curfew on illegal aliens in his state for, that's right, not following the law, beating up cops, having moped criminal gangs on the streets.
So if crossing the border is almost a guideline at this point, then is the curfew a guideline?
Yeah, seriously.
Is the beating cops a guideline?
I think it's more of
flexible.
It's more of a suggestion to not beat police officers in New York City.
I mean, we'd like you not to do it, but like, are they actually going to stop you from doing it? And that's...
We'd appreciate it if you didn't. You know? We don't want to politicize these people. Like that evil Governor Greg Abbott in New York. Ugh. They're following the law. Don't watch that video of them beating up cops in New York City. Ignore the fact that the cartels are operating down on the border and people are showing up with children that aren't theirs. Don't just look the other way. Please ignore all the human trafficking and the sex trafficking and the fentanyl pouring over the border and stop politicizing these people that are following the law. That's what Governor Kathy Hochul out of New York says. Oh, and maybe take a family into your home. Am I keeping score? Is this making sense to you? Because I don't think it's making sense to me.
I think we've extended my tally list for the day.
Yeah. It's something different. There's something in the water up there in New York, I believe. I don't want to drink it. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes and still no sign of Kenneth DeHart. That's the man police say killed East Tennessee Deputy Greg McGowan and injured Deputy Shelby Eggers during a traffic stop last week. Meanwhile, Deputy McGowan's cruiser covered in flowers. It's a standing memorial in his community.
I just came unglued when I first looked at it. So it's very emotional.
And a $100,000 reward offer for information leading to the arrest of DeHart. Former President Trump expected in court today for a hearing in the case accusing him of illegally keeping classified documents. Aaron Katursky there in Florida.
Former President Trump is expected here for a closed-door hearing about classified information at the heart of this case. And the hearing's going to take place in a secure room that's designed to manage the kind of highly sensitive material that former President Trump is accused of mishandling.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The real problem facing our country is not Joe Biden's decline. The real problem is that Joe Biden is causing America's decline. He's causing it. Who the hell would allow people to pour into our country? Who would allow this to happen?
Well, Joe Biden does. Spoiler alert. Just the TLDR version. Too long didn't read. Joe Biden would. Joe Biden would. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I'm on Twitter, True Social, Instagram. All of them are the same. At Chris Hand on air. All one word. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. But yeah, people flying in across the border. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Democrat surrogates covering for Joe Biden. You know, on account of he doesn't have the mental ability to do it himself. So they've been covering for him all weekend. It's really something to see. Jasmine Crockett, who is a Democrat out of Texas, was covering for Joe Biden and at the same time just bashing millions of Americans who support President Trump.
I truly don't understand how and why anyone can see that this guy is a viable candidate. We are talking about someone that literally may start World War III.
It's amazing to me because from my perspective, if I didn't tell you that she was smearing Donald Trump and I told you that this is a Republican and you didn't know Jasmine Crockett from a hole in a wall, you could listen to this and apply the exact same thing to Joe Biden.
I truly don't understand how and why anyone can see that this guy is a viable candidate. We are talking about someone that literally may start World War III.
I mean, does that not explain or sound like she's explaining Joe Biden? Again, if I didn't give you the context that she's bashing President Trump and smearing him, and I said that was a conservative, you could believe that she was talking about Joe Biden. You could. Because I remind you, under Trump, we had no new wars. Under Biden, we've had quite a few. Botched withdrawal out of Afghanistan. Complete division. It's unbelievable. The weaponization of the justice system, the indictments that they throw on President Trump, the charges that Trump has to deal with, where Biden gets away with the same ones because he's a well-meaning old man who would be sympathetic to a jury because he has memory issues. Trump at his campaign rally in South Carolina talked about the indictments that he's facing.
They indict me. I explain what it's about. Total bullshit, all cases. Right?
Yep.
And my poll numbers go up. My poll numbers go up. How do you figure that? But Joe Biden and the fascists that control him are a true threat to democracy. You know, he's controlled by fascists and bad people. All of this persecution is only happening because we're leading so big in the polls. If I wasn't running right now, or if I was in fifth place, or if I was like Haley, like 70 points down, I wouldn't be under indictment. I wouldn't have any problems right now.
No, if he had just faded off into the sunset and spent time with his grandkids, he wouldn't have any of these issues. And honestly, I don't know why he hasn't. It blows my mind. And that's why I support this guy. Because I think he's honestly running because he loves the country. And he wants to fix the country. Meanwhile, I honestly believe the guy in the White House doesn't love the country or has no idea what's going on and is being controlled by people above him. Because you see what's going on at the southern border, it's wide open. And it's amazing. We have terrorists, we have Chinese, we have people from all over the world coming through. John Ratcliffe was on with Maria Bartiromo over the weekend, and he brought up the Chinese coming across the border and made the point that, yeah, we have Chinese spies coming across the border.
The Customs and Border Protection is telling us that the fastest growing group that they're encountering at the border is coming from our number one geopolitical adversary, China. How fast is it coming? Well, at the end of the Trump administration, we had 342 Chinese nationals in the year 2020. As you pointed out, we're at now 24,000 and 20,000 in the past 2 years. That's like a 7,000% increase. And so you're right. It's not a question of whether the People's Republic of China and the CCP is are sending spies over here, human, intelligence assets into our country. It's a question of how many.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. How many? And it's not a shocker that they would be sending over spies. I mean, they operated illegal police stations in our country, biolabs. These are stories that we've covered, we know about. But the Biden administration won't do anything about it. Mayorkas was on with Kristen Welker over the weekend on Meet the Press, and he says, listen, we can't do anything until Congress helps out. Only Congress can fix it. It's not my fault, he says.
No doubt there is gridlock on Congress, but do you bear responsibility for what is happening at the border? What the president himself has called a crisis.
It certainly is a crisis, and we don't bear responsibility for a broken system, and we're doing a tremendous amount within that broken system. But fundamentally, Congress is the only one who can fix it.
Okay. Only Congress can fix what Joe Biden was able to break with executive orders on day one. Everybody following this? Only Joe can break it. Only Congress can fix it. Unbelievable. He says it's not our fault. But Kristen Welker, to her credit, pushes back. Why won't Biden try something without Congress?
If it were done legislatively, no doubt you wouldn't have these legal challenges, but isn't trying to do something better than doing nothing at all? Why doesn't President Biden try to shut down the border? Are you encouraging him to do that?
Why doesn't Biden try to do something? Well, I, for one, think this is all by design. This is part of the plan. And the plan is working. So Mayorkas won't try anything. He will, however, deflect.
Well, we have already taken important steps. We certainly haven't done nothing.
Oh, we've taken important steps. We certainly haven't done nothing. Define nothing. It's like, I can't. I can't. I'm not a dictionary. So this is what we have. We have a president in the White House who is mentally incompetent, people pulling his strings like he's a puppet, and the plan is working. The plan's working. They want to destroy the country, and the plan is working. It's amazing to me, but I'm not exactly shocked. Biden spent all weekend long, hiding. Well, today, he's at the National Association of Counties giving a speech. And I bet you his puppet masters wish that he was still hiding because he's not doing too good.
The American infrastructure plan used to, we used to be the best in the world in infrastructure. Literally, we were ranked number one in the world.
Yeah, under Biden, we're falling. We're falling fast. But this man, in his memory, he's constantly confused. And he's trying to make the case to the American public that he's all there.
After the fellow who's running again, well, after he did not move on making sure that we dealt with vaccinating the American public, we ended up losing over 1 million people dead.
So part of me wonders if they're piping in laughter to these awkward silences to make it seem like he's joking and the crowd is with him. But he says after he did not move on making sure that we dealt with vaccinating the American public. Didn't they announce the vaccine after the election? Oh, and didn't the vaccine not work? Wasn't there somebody in office that tried to mandate it and a bunch of people lost their jobs and a bunch of military members left the military because of it? The same military that's having recruitment issues now? For that vaccine that didn't work? Weird. What kind of talking point is this? I know he's not writing his own speeches. I know that he's not with it. But shouldn't the people around him realize that this is a very unpopular stance?
Makes sense.
It makes sense, right? wouldn't you say it's probably not best to bring up the vaccine because of all of your vaccine mandates and your demonization of the country that didn't want to get the vaccine? How is this the talking point? You hide at your house all weekend, and one of the first things you come out is try and go at the president, the former president, Trump, over the vaccine that didn't get released until after he left office, right? And the one that you forced terrible mandates and hardships on people that didn't want to get vaccinated across the country. It just seems like terrible planning. Why do you want to remind people about your tyrant nature? It blows my mind. Poor planning, poor execution. What are they doing? Let's remind people about one of the things they hate most about me, the vaccine mandates. And let's use it as a way to attack Trump. Orange man bad, you know? Blows my mind. And at the same time, he gets up there at this National Association of Counties, and he just lies.
Growth is strong, wages are rising, inflation is down. In fact, the costs have fallen from a gallon of gas to a gallon of milk.
The costs of everything have fallen from a gallon of gas to a gallon of milk. Oh, that's a shocker to me. I'll say this. When I was buying a gallon of organic milk under Trump, it was under $5. Bought a gallon of organic milk yesterday, $7. Is that falling? Is that falling? When Trump left office, gas was under $2 here in Middle Tennessee. Got gas yesterday. Pushing $3. Is that falling? Overall costs up over 17%. 30% higher than when Biden took office. Who is giving him these talking points? Who is giving this man these talking points? Guys, he's just an elderly man with a poor memory.
One more thing I forgot to mention. Newcastle County, Delaware. Where are all my 5? Come on, stand up. Where are? Over there.
Oh, yep. One thing I forgot. Should he be saying that he forgot things after a special counsel report came out and said he's got memory issues? Not a good look, right? He's sharp as a tack. Hey, I forgot something. Whoa. Not a good look. It's 11:48 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 11:55 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, joined in studio by Matt Murphy. What's up, Murph?
Fixing my microphone, turning on my camera. I'm doing good. How are you? For a Monday, I'm well. Hey, Chris Hand.
Hey, Matt Murphy.
What's up?
What are you doing?
Did you really not call your boy today?
Who?
I'm calling him. Matt Morey.
So I
think it's so mean of you.
I was looking more forward to calling him if the 49ers won.
I understand
I was going to call him and play the song.
I understand that.
He wouldn't even respond to my text last night.
He didn't respond to mine either, and I think it's because I posted middle of the game that I was officially rooting for the 49ers because I wanted to see the Brock Purdy "I Love Jesus Christ" speech.
Yep.
Because I know how much the media hates that.
Yep.
They
would have edited it out. They would have edited the whole thing out.
So I was rooting for the 49ers, so I figure he's mad at me. But whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I had people tweeting me, "Can't wait to see that Niners song tomorrow." I feel like they jinxed me.
Yeah. Everybody, at least in my world, in my sphere, everyone was acting as if the 49ers were ahead by 40.
Yeah.
And I kept telling my wife, who was rooting for the Chiefs, I was like, they're only ahead by 7. Yeah. This is not an insurmountable thing. So, anyway, it was a fun game.
I had learned my lesson on getting songs ready for Mac before the end of the game.
You feel like you started jinxing yourself?
Yeah. So I didn't have – I took a look. I knew which route I was going to go.
Take a little peek?
But I hadn't recorded any of them.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to wait.
Well, save it till next year.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to watch next year.
What else is going on? I'm having a good day. I got some look at the gift I got. If you're on the Super Talk TV,
is that yellow cake? Don't drop that.
Don't drop. Don't drop that. That's such a
you
great
like that. I like that.
If you know, you know. That's a great reference. Don't drop.
Don't drop that ish.
Who's talking about oil? Ain't nobody talking about oil.
I don't know what you're talking about. I saw somebody say Trump is Dave Chappelle's Black Bush.
Yes, I totally see that.
It's pretty good.
So there's a Super Bowl. You have a favorite Super Bowl halftime memory?
Hated the whole thing.
Here's what I don't understand.
I hated every second of that Super Bowl. I hated the commercials. They were not entertaining. I hated the halftime show. It was degenerate and debaucherous, and I didn't like it. I hate that the Super Bowl has stolen the joy from me in this modern woke culture. I cannot watch the Super Bowl with my sons the way I watched it with my father.
I want to know who the halftime show was. I heard this earlier today.
Did you know that I'm pissed?
I heard this earlier today, and my wife is walking through the kitchen, and we're listening together to the Chris Hand show, and she says to me, stops.
What? Hold on. The Chris Hand show keeps marriages together.
Well, I guess so. Because my wife stops, and she turns to me, and she says, as you're railing about all of this, she says, "Is this a bit? Is he doing it?" She said, and I said, "No, I think he means it."
No, I meant it. I'm honestly like,
I want to know
it bugs the hell out of me.
I want to know your favorite halftime show memory with your father. Who was the artist?
I don't have a halftime show memory with my father.
So
it was just
you were just making that up?
Tom Brady winning Super Bowls.
You were just making that.
So it's that I can't watch. No. It's that I can't
this.
watch the game because it's all woke trash. I don't need a grown man thrusting and strippers up on stripper poles.
Okay.
Why do I need to explain that to my kids?
How many times?
You don't need to explain a Bon Jovi halftime show. You don't need to explain the Stones.
How many times? Oh, yeah, because the Rolling Stones weren't considered woke trash by your parents or your grandparents.
Maybe my grandparents.
Right? Every generation does this.
Yeah.
How many times? So it reminds me of the old.
I can't do it with my kids.
It reminds me of the old joke. I don't know. Well, I don't have time. I'll tell the old joke when my show starts. Because every year this happens. How many times do you have to beat your head against a brick wall before you people realize it's a brick wall?
Yeah. I didn't let my kids watch it. I honestly watched it for the rage porn and to be able to make fun of Mac Morey if the Niners won.
That's good for you.
That's literally the only reasons I watched it.
That's good.
All right, it's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Bye.